It was a super sunny Saturday afternoon. The kind of day where the sky is big and blue, and you just want to be outside. 12-year-old Timmy Jackson was hanging out in his backyard, doing what he loved best, relaxing. Timmy wasn't a loud kid. He wasn't super tall or super strong. He was short and skinny, with messy brown hair that stuck up in all directions. Most people in the neighborhood didn't even notice him. To them, he was just that quiet boy who lived in the little house with the green door. But today? Oh, today was going to be different. Really different. Timmy had been busy that morning. He'd dragged out a big, bright blue patio umbrella from his garage. It was huge. The kind of umbrella that makes you feel like you're at the beach, even if you're just in your backyard. He set it up right next to the picnic table, where the sun usually beats down and makes everything hot. Timmy stepped back and looked at it. The blue was so bright it almost glowed. He smiled big. "This is awesome," he said to himself. He could already imagine sitting under it with a cold glass of lemonade, feeling like a king in his own little kingdom. But not everyone thought it was awesome. Nope. Someone was watching, and that someone didn't like what she saw. Her name was Mrs. Linda Harper. She lived in the house next door, and everyone in the neighborhood had a secret nickname for her, Karen. They called her that because she was always complaining about something. If your grass was too long, she'd knock on your door. If your dog barked once, she'd write a big, angry note. And if you dared to do something fun? Watch out, she'd be there, ready to ruin it. Mrs. Harper was the boss of the HOA, which is like a club that makes rules for the neighborhood. And she loved those rules more than anything. Right now, Mrs. Harper was standing at her window, peeking through her curtains. Her eyes got narrow when she saw Timmy's umbrella. "What is that?" she muttered to herself. She didn't like the blue color. She didn't like how big it was. And she really didn't like that Timmy hadn't asked her permission first. To her, that umbrella was trouble. Big trouble. She didn't know it yet, but Timmy had something up his sleeve. Something sneaky. Something that was going to make this boring, sunny day turn into a wild adventure. Timmy didn't see Mrs. Harper watching. He was too busy grabbing a chair and setting it under his new umbrella. He ran inside real quick and came back with a glass of lemonade. The ice clinked in the glass as he plopped down in the chair. He took a big sip and sighed. "Perfect," he said. The shade from the umbrella felt cool, and the blue made everything look fun. He kicked his feet up on the picnic table and leaned back. For once, he wasn't just the quiet kid nobody noticed. He felt big. He felt important. But across the fence, Mrs. Harper was already making a plan. She didn't like kids having fun, not unless she said it was okay. And this umbrella? It was breaking all her silly rules. She thought it was too tall. She thought it was too bright. She thought it made the whole neighborhood look messy. "That boy thinks he can just do whatever he wants," she grumbled. She tapped her fingers on the windowsill, her frown getting deeper. Well, we'll see about that. Timmy didn't know it yet, but trouble was coming. Big trouble with a capital T. Mrs. Harper wasn't the kind of person to let things go. She was like a storm cloud waiting to rain on your picnic. But here's the thing, Timmy wasn't scared. Not even a little bit. Why? Because he had a secret. A really good one. It wasn't just any secret, either. It was the kind of secret that could flip everything upside down and make Mrs. Harper wish she'd never peeked out her window that day. What was Timmy's secret? Oh, I can't tell you yet. That would ruin the fun. But I'll give you a tiny hint, it had something to do with the little walkie-talkie he kept in his pocket. Yup, that's right. Timmy had a walkie-talkie, and he wasn't just playing with it. He was waiting for the perfect moment to use it. But don't tell Mrs. Harper. She didn't see it. She didn't hear it. All she saw was that big blue umbrella, and all she heard was her own voice in her head saying, "This has to stop." So, there they were. Timmy, sitting happy under his umbrella, sipping lemonade like he didn't have a care in the world. And Mrs. Harper, glaring from her window, ready to march over and start a fight. It was like a showdown was about to happen, one nobody in the neighborhood saw coming. The sun kept shining, the birds kept chirping, and the air felt warm and lazy. But something big was brewing. Something wild. Something that would make everyone's jaw drop. So, what do you think Timmy's secret could be? Is it something funny? Something tricky? Something that'll make Mrs. Harper mad? Stick around, because the story is just getting started. Timmy might look like a regular kid, but he's got a surprise that's going to change everything. And Mrs. Harper? She's about to learn that sometimes, the quiet ones are the ones you should watch out for. The backyard was quiet for now. Timmy took another sip of his lemonade, the ice cubes rattling in the glass. He looked up at his umbrella and smiled again. He liked how it stood out. He liked how it made his little spot special. But he also knew Mrs. Harper was probably planning something. He'd seen her before, stomping around, telling people what to do. He wasn't worried, though. Not one bit. That secret in his pocket? It was his superpower. And he couldn't wait to use it. The day was still young. The sun was still high. And Timmy was ready for whatever came next. Mrs. Harper thought she was in charge, but she didn't know the truth. She didn't know that Timmy wasn't just some kid with an umbrella. He was a kid with a plan. A kid with a trick. A kid who was about to turn this sunny Saturday into the wildest day the neighborhood had ever seen. The sunny afternoon was about to get loud. Mrs. Linda Harper, better known as the neighborhood Karen, burst out of her house like a tornado. Her flip-flops slapped the ground hard, making a funny noise, like an angry duck waddling fast. She marched right up to the fence that split her yard from Timmy's. Her eyes were locked on that big, bright blue patio umbrella Timmy had put up. She didn't like it one bit. Nope, not at all. She stopped at the fence and pointed her finger at the umbrella. "That thing is an eyesore," she shouted, her voice sharp and loud. "It's too big. It's too blue. And it's breaking all the rules." Her face was turning pink, and her hands were on her hips now. She looked like she was ready to fight that umbrella herself if she had to. Timmy was still sitting under it, cool as could be. He had his glass of lemonade in his hand, the ice cubes clinking as he took a slow sip. He didn't even look up at her. He just stared at the picnic table, like Mrs. Harper wasn't even there. That made her madder. Way madder. She wasn't used to people ignoring her. She was the HOA boss, after all. Everyone was supposed to listen when she talked. "You think you can just sit there and pretend you don't hear me?" she yelled. Her flip-flop slapped the ground again as she took a step closer to the fence. "That umbrella is a problem, kid. It doesn't belong here. It's ugly, and it's against the rules." She kept going, her voice getting louder with every word. "The HOA says everything has to look nice and neat, and that thing? It's a mess. You can't just put up whatever you want." Timmy didn't move. He took another sip of his lemonade, the straw making a little slurping sound. He didn't say anything back. Not a single word. But if you looked really close, you'd see something. A tiny smile started to creep onto his face. It wasn't a big grin or anything. Just a little twitch at the corners of his mouth. Like he knew something she didn't. Like he wasn't scared of her at all. Mrs. Harper didn't see the smile. She was too busy being mad. She pulled her phone out of her pocket and waved it in the air. "You think you're so sneaky, huh?" she snapped. "Well, guess what? I'm calling 911 right now. This is a neighborhood emergency. You can't just break the rules and get away with it." She started tapping on her phone, her fingers moving fast. She was serious. She really thought the police would care about a kid's umbrella. Timmy still didn't say anything. He just sat there, sipping away. But that tiny smile. It got a little bigger. Not much, but enough to make you wonder. Why wasn't he worried? Why wasn't he jumping up to argue or take the umbrella down? Most kids would be scared if someone said they were calling the cops. But not Timmy. He looked calm. Too calm. Like he had a trick ready, and Mrs. Harper was walking right into it. See, Mrs. Harper thought Timmy was just some regular kid. A quiet, skinny boy who didn't matter much. She thought she could boss him around, like she bossed everyone else in the neighborhood. She'd done it before. Like the time she made Mr. Davis paint his mailbox because she said the red was too bright. Or when she told the Wilsons their flowers were too messy and had to go. She always won. She always got her way. So, to her, Timmy was just another easy target. Someone she could yell at and scare until he did what she wanted. But here's the thing, she had no idea who she was really messing with. Timmy wasn't like Mr. Davis or the Wilsons. He wasn't just some kid with a cool umbrella. He was more than that. A lot more. Mrs. Harper didn't know it yet, but she was about to find out. That tiny smile on Timmy's face? It was a clue. A little hint that something big was coming. Something she wouldn't like one bit. She kept talking, her voice loud enough for the whole street to hear. "I'm going to tell the police everything," she said. "I'll tell them how you're ruining this neighborhood with that awful umbrella. They'll come, and they'll make you take it down. You'll see." She held the phone up to her ear now, waiting for someone to answer. She looked so sure of herself, like she'd already won. Timmy leaned back in his chair a little. He set his lemonade down on the picnic table and crossed his arms. He still didn't say a word. He didn't need to. That smile said it all. It was like he was watching a funny show, and Mrs. Harper was the star, only she didn't know the ending yet. He wasn't scared of her yelling. He wasn't scared of her phone call. He wasn't scared of anything she could do. Why? Because he had something she didn't expect. Something sneaky. Something that was going to turn this fight upside down. Mrs. Harper kept going. "You kids these days think you can do whatever you want," she said. "No respect. No manners. Well, not in my neighborhood. I've been running this HOA for years, and I know the rules better than anyone. That umbrella is coming down, whether you like it or not." She was shouting so loud now that a few birds flew out of the trees, scared off by her voice. But Timmy? He just sat there. Quiet. Calm. Smiling. It was driving her crazy. She wanted him to fight back. She wanted him to say something so she could yell even more. But he didn't give her that. He just watched her, like he was waiting. Waiting for the perfect moment. Waiting for whatever he had planned to kick in. The air felt tight, like something big was about to happen. Mrs. Harper thought she was in charge. She thought she could scare Timmy and win, just like always. But she didn't see what was really going on. She didn't see that Timmy wasn't afraid. She didn't see that he was ready for her. She thought he was weak because he was quiet. She thought he was small because he didn't argue. She thought she knew everything about him. But she was wrong. So wrong. The fight was just starting. Mrs. Harper was loud and mad, stomping around in her flip-flops. Timmy was quiet and sneaky, sitting under his big blue umbrella. Two totally different people, facing off in the sunny backyard. And soon, very soon, Mrs. Harper was going to learn that Timmy wasn't who she thought he was. Not even close. The sunny backyard was getting noisy now. Mrs. Harper, the HOA boss everyone called Karen, was on a mission. She yanked her phone out of her pocket like it was a weapon. Her fingers moved fast as she dialed a number. "Yes, hello, police," she said, her voice loud and sharp. "There's a boy here breaking every HOA rule in the book with a giant umbrella. Send someone quick." She sounded so serious, like Timmy's big blue umbrella was the worst crime ever. Timmy didn't budge. He stayed sitting under his umbrella, his lemonade glass sweating in the heat. He didn't say a word. Not one. But while Mrs. Harper was yelling into her phone, something sneaky happened. Timmy's hand slipped into his pocket. He pulled out a little walkie-talkie small enough to hide in his fist. He pressed a button and leaned close, whispering something into it. His voice was so quiet, like a mouse tiptoeing, that Mrs. Harper didn't hear a thing. She was too busy shouting to notice. She hung up the phone and spun around to face Timmy. "You'll see, kid," she barked, pacing back and forth along the fence. Her flip-flops went slap, slap, slap on the ground. "When the cops get here, they'll rip that ugly thing down. You can't just break my rules and get away with it." Her face was red now, and she waved her arms like she was trying to scare off a flock of birds. She was mad, really mad, and she wanted Timmy to know it. But here's the funny part, Timmy wasn't worried at all. Not even a little bit. He didn't jump up. He didn't yell back. He just sat there, cool and calm, like he was watching a boring TV show. Every time Mrs. Harper turned her back to pace the other way, Timmy did something sneaky. He'd glance down at that walkie-talkie in his lap and grin. Not a big grin, just a tiny one, like he had a secret joke. Something big was coming, and Mrs. Harper didn't have a clue. She kept going, her voice getting louder. "I've been running this neighborhood for years," she said. I know every rule. That umbrella is too big. It's too blue. It's making everything look messy. The police will agree with me, you'll see. She pointed at the umbrella again, like it was a monster she had to fight. She thought she was winning. She thought Timmy was scared. But he wasn't. Not even close. Timmy took another sip of his lemonade. The ice clinked in the glass, and he leaned back in his chair. He looked so relaxed, like he was on vacation. But his eyes? They kept darting to that walkie-talkie. He'd tap it with his finger, real soft, like he was checking it. What was he up to? Why wasn't he afraid? Mrs. Harper didn't see it. She was too busy stomping around and yelling. But if you watched close, you'd know something was cooking. Something tricky. The air felt buzzy now, like when you know a storm's coming but the sky's still clear. Mrs. Harper thought she had everything under control. She thought the police would show up, take one look at the umbrella, and side with her. She imagined them tearing it down and telling Timmy to follow her rules. She even smiled a little, thinking about it. This kid's going to learn a lesson, she muttered to herself. No one messes with me. But Timmy? He wasn't learning any lessons. He was planning something. That walkie-talkie wasn't just a toy. It was a clue. A big hint. Every time he whispered into it, he'd look up at the street, like he was waiting for something or someone. Mrs. Harper didn't notice. She was too busy pacing and talking. You think you're smart, huh? She said, glaring at him. Sitting there all quiet like you've got nothing to say? Well, you won't be so quiet when the cops get here. Timmy's grin got a tiny bit bigger. He didn't answer her. He didn't need to. He just tapped the walkie-talkie again and took another sip of his drink. The ice was almost melted now, but he didn't care. He was too busy thinking about whatever he'd said into that little gadget. What was it? Who was he talking to? Mrs. Harper had no idea, and that was the best part. She thought she knew everything, but she was missing the biggest thing of all. The minutes ticked by. Mrs. Harper kept pacing, her flip-flops slapping louder each time. She'd stop every few steps to point at the umbrella and shake her head. This is why we have rules, she said. Kids like you think you can do whatever you want. Well, not today. Not in my neighborhood. She was so loud that a dog down the street started barking. A few neighbors even peeked out their windows, wondering what was going on. But Timmy? He didn't flinch. He didn't look at the neighbors. He just kept his eyes on that walkie-talkie, waiting. Then, something small happened. So small you might miss it if you weren't paying attention. The walkie-talkie made a tiny noise, a little crackle, like static. Mrs. Harper didn't hear it. She was too busy ranting. But Timmy did. His eyes lit up, and his grin turned into a real smile. Not a loud one, just a sneaky one. He pressed the button again and whispered something else. Super quiet. Super fast. Then he leaned back and crossed his arms, like he was ready for a show. Mrs. Harper kept going. I can't wait to see your face when they get here, she said. You'll wish you never put that thing up. The police don't mess around. She thought she was so smart. She thought she had Timmy trapped. But every time she turned away, Timmy would look at the walkie-talkie and nod a little. Like he was talking to someone. Like he had a plan. Like he wasn't alone in this fight. The tension was building. Mrs. Harper was loud and sure of herself. Timmy was quiet and sneaky. She thought the police were coming to help her. He knew something she didn't. That walkie-talkie was his secret weapon, and he was using it right under her nose. Something big was on the way, something that would flip this whole day upside down. And Mrs. Harper? She was too busy yelling to see it coming. The sunny afternoon was about to get wild. Mrs. Harper was still pacing by the fence, her flip-flops slapping the ground, when something big happened. A police car rolled up in front of Timmy's house. Its tires crunched on the gravel, and the red and blue lights flashed once before turning off. Mrs. Harper stopped pacing. She looked at the car and smirked, crossing her arms like she'd just won a giant prize. See, she said, her voice loud and proud. I told you they'd come. You're in big trouble now, kid. Timmy didn't move. He was still sitting under his big blue umbrella, his lemonade glass empty on the picnic table. He didn't look scared. He didn't look surprised. He just sat there, watching the police car with that sneaky little smile on his face. Mrs. Harper thought she had him trapped. She thought the police were here to back her up and tear that umbrella down. She was so sure of herself, she even started tapping her foot, waiting for the fun to start. Then the car doors opened. 2 officers stepped out. One was tall with a serious face, and the other was a little shorter, wearing sunglasses. Mrs. Harper's smirk got bigger. She leaned over the fence and pointed at Timmy. "That's him," she said. "He's the one breaking all the rules with that ugly umbrella. Take it down." She thought she was the boss, like always. But then something crazy happened. The shorter officer, the one with the sunglasses, looked over at Timmy and waved. Yup, he waved right at him, like they were buddies. Mrs. Harper's jaw dropped. Her mouth opened so wide you could have fit a whole apple in there. She blinked fast, like she couldn't believe her eyes. "What?" she sputtered. She looked at the officer, then at Timmy, then back at the officer. Timmy just waved back, super casual, like it was no big deal. That's when the truth came out, and it was a whopper. The officer who waved was Officer Mike. And guess what? He wasn't just any cop. He was Timmy's big brother. That's right, Timmy's secret was out, and it was a game changer. See, all this time, while Mrs. Harper was yelling and calling 911, Timmy had been one step ahead. That little walkie-talkie he'd been whispering into. He'd used it to call Officer Mike way before Mrs. Harper even picked up her phone. He'd told his brother about the umbrella fight, and Mike had come to check it out. Officer Mike walked over to the fence, his boots crunching on the grass. He was tall and strong, with a shiny badge on his chest. He looked at the big blue umbrella and smiled. "Looks fine to me, kiddo," he said to Timmy. "Good job setting it up. Nice and sturdy." Timmy grinned back, a real big grin this time, not just a sneaky one. "Thanks, Mike," he said, kicking his feet up on the picnic table like he owned the place. Mrs. Harper's face turned red. Not just a little red, redder than a ripe tomato on a hot day. She couldn't believe it. She'd called the police to get Timmy in trouble, and now one of them was his brother? She started stammering, her words tripping over each other. But, it's against the rules," she said, her voice shaking. "The HOA says no big umbrellas. It's too bright. It's too tall. You have to take it down." She waved her arms around, trying to make her point. Officer Mike turned to her, pushing his sunglasses up on his head. He didn't look mad, just tired. "Ma'am," he said, nice and calm, "is this really why you called us? An umbrella?" He pointed at it, then looked back at her. "It's just a kid having fun in his own backyard. There's no law against that." His voice was steady, like he was explaining something simple to a little kid. Mrs. Harper froze. Her arms dropped to her sides. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. She looked at Officer Mike, then at Timmy, then at the other officer, who was just standing by the car, watching. She didn't know what to say. She'd been so sure the police would help her. She'd been so sure she'd win, like she always did. But now she looked silly, standing there in her flip-flops, yelling about an umbrella while Timmy's brother was a cop. Timmy leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. He didn't need to say much. His big brother was here, and that was enough. The walkie-talkie sat on the table next to his empty glass, its little antennas sticking up. That tiny gadget had been his secret weapon all along. He'd called Mike right when Mrs. Harper started her fuss, knowing his brother would come quick. And now here they were, Timmy looking cool, and Mrs. Harper looking like she'd swallowed a bug. Officer Mike turned back to Timmy. "You okay, little man?" he asked. Timmy nodded. "Yup," he said. "Just chilling." Mike laughed, a big, happy laugh that made Mrs. Harper flinch. "Good," he said. "You keep that umbrella right where it is. Looks perfect to me." He gave Timmy a fist bump, and Timmy bumped him back, grinning ear to ear. Mrs. Harper tried one more time. "But the HOA rules," she started, her voice squeaky now. Officer Mike cut her off, nice but firm. "HOA rules aren't laws, ma'am," he said. "You can't call 911 over something like this. We've got real stuff to do." He tipped his head toward the car, where the other officer was waiting. "Next time, Maybe talk to the kid first, huh? Her face went from red to purple. She huffed, puffing out her cheeks like a mad frog. She wanted to argue. She wanted to yell. But she couldn't. Not with two cops standing there, and one of them calling Timmy kiddo. She'd lost, and she knew it. The big reveal had flipped everything around. Timmy wasn't just some quiet kid she could boss. He had a brother who was a police officer, and that brother was on his side. The neighbors who'd been peeking out their windows started whispering. A few even giggled. Mrs. Harper heard them, and her shoulders slumped. She'd thought she was the queen of the neighborhood, but now she looked like the fool. Timmy, though. He looked like a hero. A quiet, sneaky hero who'd outsmarted her with one little walkie-talkie call. The police car's engine hummed. Officer Mike gave Timmy one last wave. "See you at home, bud," he said. "Keep that lemonade cold for me." Timmy laughed. "You got it," he said. And just like that, the big moment was over, but oh, what a moment it was. The backyard showdown was over, and Mrs. Harper didn't know what to do. She stood there by the fence, huffing and puffing like a tired dragon. Her face was still red, and her flip-flops looked ready to fall off from all her stomping. She'd lost, and she knew it. Officer Mike, Timmy's big brother, crossed his arms and looked at her. "Ma'am," he said, nice but firm, "you need to stop wasting our time with silly calls like this. An umbrella isn't a big deal." His partner, the tall officer by the car, nodded. "Yeah," he added. "We've got real work to do." Mrs. Harper opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. She just made a little squeaky noise, like a balloon losing air. She wanted to yell about her HOA rules, but Officer Mike had already said it, those rules weren't laws. She couldn't boss the police around, and she couldn't boss Timmy anymore either. So, she did the only thing she could. She turned around, muttering under her breath, and stomped back to her house. "This is ridiculous," she grumbled. "Stupid kid, stupid umbrella." Her flip-flop slapped the ground all the way to her door, and then slam, she was gone. Timmy watched her go, still sitting under his big blue umbrella. He looked at Officer Mike and grinned. "Thanks, bro," he said. Mike laughed and held up his hand. "Anytime, little man," he said. Timmy jumped up and gave him a big high five, their hands smacking together loud enough to echo. It felt good, like a victory cheer. Mike ruffled Timmy's messy hair. "You did good," he said. "See you at home." Then he walked back to the police car with his partner, waving one last time before they drove off. As the car pulled away, something cool happened. The neighbors who'd been peeking out their windows started clapping. Yup, real clapping. Mr. Davis from across the street stepped onto his porch and gave a big woohoo. The Wilsons next door opened their window and cheered too. Turns out, they were tired of Mrs. Harper's nonsense. She was always bossing them around, telling Mr. Davis his mailbox was too bright, or telling the Wilsons their flowers were too messy. Now, they were happy to see her lose for once. "Way to go, Timmy!" Mr. Davis yelled. Timmy waved back, feeling like a star. He sat back down under his umbrella and grabbed his lemonade glass. The ice was all melted now, but he didn't care. He took a big sip and leaned back, stretching his legs out. He wasn't just some quiet kid anymore. Nope. He'd outsmarted the meanest lady on the block, and everyone knew it. The big blue umbrella stood tall above him, like a flag of victory. It wasn't just an umbrella now, it was proof that Timmy was smart and brave. The sun was still shining, and the day felt even better than before. Mrs. Harper was gone, locked away in her house, probably still muttering to herself. The neighbors were smiling, and Timmy was king of his backyard. He'd turned a boring Saturday into something awesome, and nobody could take that away from him. Not Mrs. Harper, not her rules, not anyone. He'd won, fair and square, and it felt great. So, there you have it, friends. A kid, an umbrella, and a big surprise that shut down a nosy neighbor. Timmy's story started with a sunny day and a big blue umbrella, but it turned into something way bigger. He was just a quiet boy, short, skinny, with messy hair, but he showed everyone he was more than that. He had a secret, a sneaky plan with his walkie-talkie, and it worked. Mrs. Harper, the mean HOA lady, thought she was the boss, but Timmy proved her wrong. And now we've got a fun tale to tell. Think about it for a second. Timmy didn't look like a hero. He wasn't loud or tall or super strong. Most people didn't even notice him. But that didn't matter. Sometimes, the people who seem small or quiet have the biggest tricks up their sleeves. Timmy didn't need to yell or fight. He just sat there, sipping his lemonade, waiting for the perfect moment. And when that moment came, bam, he flipped everything around. His big brother showed up, the police car rolled in, and Mrs. Harper didn't know what hit her. That's the cool thing about Timmy. He didn't have to be big to win. He just had to be smart. And what about Mrs. Harper? She thought she was in charge. She thought her rules made her the queen of the neighborhood. She yelled and stomped and called 911, sure she'd get her way. But here's the funny part: those who think they're the boss might not see the truth until it's too late. Mrs. Harper didn't see Timmy's secret coming. She didn't think a quiet kid could beat her. But he did. And when she stomped back to her house, all red-faced and muttering, everyone saw who really won. It's a good lesson, right? Don't judge people by how loud they are or how big they seem. The real power might be hiding in the quiet ones. So, here's a question for you: what would you do if you had a secret like Timmy's? Imagine you've got a walkie-talkie and a big brother who's a cop, or maybe some other cool trick up your sleeve. Would you use it to stop a bully? Would you surprise someone who's being mean? Would you wait for the perfect time, like Timmy did, and then spring your plan? I want to know. Drop your ideas in the comments below. I read every single one, and I bet they'll be awesome. Tell me what you'd do, and maybe even where you're watching from today. I'd love to hear it. This story's done, but I'll see you in the next one. I've got more fun tales coming your way, full of surprises and cool kids like Timmy. So stick around, okay? Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, it's right there, super easy. And don't forget to stay awesome. You've got your own power, just like Timmy. Maybe it's not a walkie-talkie or a big umbrella, but it's something special. Don't let anyone tell you you're too small or too quiet to matter. You're not. You're big in your own way. Oh, and one last thing: don't let anyone rain on your parade, or your umbrella. Keep shining, keep smiling, and keep being you. Timmy did it, and look how great that turned out. See you soon, friends.